Welcome back. We got another episode of Let 'Em Ride for you. We're going to be going over the WNBA slate for Friday, July 5th. We're going to go over 2 of the 3 games as the Aces are currently playing still at the time of recording. So there's no line for their game against the Sparks. So keep an eye out in the morning tomorrow. I will drop a separate video for that game alone. But we'll go over these 2 games that we have lines for. We're going to break down and analyze both of those games. We'll talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the spread. And then any plays that I put in for those games, I will have listed down below in the pinned comment later. So don't forget to check back in. That way you don't miss out on any of those. And then to recap our picks from Thursday, we did take the Lynx, laying the 2 points. Man, I'm disappointed. I expected more from Minnesota. I really did. Connecticut does have a great defense. But really, to me, watching that game, Minnesota had their chances, and they just kind of fell flat on their faces at times, especially in the fourth quarter. They battle back, you tie it up to 64, then you let Connecticut go on a 10-0 run. Then you try to battle back then, but there's just no time left. It's like less than 2 minutes to go. I don't know. Not a good outing. Obviously, the Sun are a very good team, and you're going to have these games. But anyways, we don't cash on that one. We have the Mystics, though, first quarter, plus 5.5, and that does cash for us. So we do split on the night, 1-1. We are up 8.59 units on the season. We're 27-18, so we're looking to improve off last night, have a better night tonight. Let's get into it. And for our first game, we have the Atlanta Dream taking on the Dallas Wings. The Wings are laying 1.5. We have an over-under sitting at 165.5. And the Dream have a 1-day rest advantage, but they are on the road for the first of 3 straight. They have lost 5 of their last 6, only covering twice in that span, and both of those times were as double-digit dogs. They lost by 8 to Chicago on Tuesday, and honestly, they played well in some areas, out-rebounding and dishing out more assists as a team than the Sky, but they allowed Chicago to shoot 43% from deep, gave up 18 turnovers, and then gave up 22 points as a result of those turnovers. They are 7-11, both straight up and against the spread on the year. The Wings, they have lost 14 of their last 15, failed to cover in all but 3 of those, and Dallas lost to the Mercury on Wednesday at home, trailing by 13 at the half before making things a little more interesting in the third, but ultimately they end up losing by 8, and they were just simply outshot in this game. They shot 49% from the field, but only 29% on 5 of 17 shooting from deep, and then only 74% from the free throw line, while allowing the Mercury to hit at 55% rate from the field and a 48% rate from deep. And then the Mercury hit 91% of their shots from the free throw line. These two have met once this year at the beginning of the season. Atlanta won that one at home 83-78, and Dallas covered as a 6-point dog. Both of these teams looked a little differently, though, however, as Atlanta is now missing Ryan Howard until at least after the Olympic break with that ankle injury. And they have since seen the return, or the debut rather, of Jordan Canada, as this is her first season with the Dream. The Wings are still without Sabali and Jaylen Brown, but they are also now down Maddie Seagrass as she recovers from a broken finger. In their last 5 games, the Dream rank 3rd to last in offensive rating, with the Wings ranking dead last. There's a big disparity on defense, however, in that time frame, as the Wings sit last here as well. But Atlanta has played decent on that end. They're sitting at 4th in the W over those 5 games. And then in that same time frame, the Dream are giving up the 4th most points in the paint, however. And this is where Dallas has the potential to hurt them. The Wings put up the 4th most points in the paint. They're making the 2nd most field goals and hitting at the 4th highest percentage in the W from the restricted area. And Atlanta is giving up the 3rd most such makes, but at a 60% clip, which is good for 4th in the W. Atlanta likes to operate out of the mid-range themselves, making the most attempts at the 4th highest percentage, and Dallas does give up the most makes from this zone. This part looks good for Atlanta, but the thing is, they aren't beating anyone with this offense, in my opinion, at least for now, especially without Ryan Howard. Their best chance to win is by playing above average defense, which they have done at times, just not consistently. Dallas is shooting the corner 3 at the highest percentage in the W as well, but they're only middle of the pack as far as attempts per game, so that percentage may have more to do with a lack of quantity of shots rather than the ability to knock them down consistently. They are 3rd to last in made above the break threes, and they are only hitting them at the, not only they are hitting them at the 2nd worst percentage in the league. And while the Dream have been decent defending above the break threes, they are giving up the most corner threes in the league. So with everything considered, I'm leaning Dallas here, but mainly because they are at home, and both teams are struggling. Both teams are struggling over their last 5 specifically. The Wings are rated 5th offensively in that time, while the Dream are only 11th. Both defenses have been bottom 3 in that time as well. So I'm going to lean with a team that's been able to score the ball more consistently, but I don't know if I make it anywhere with this one myself. Betting these bottom feeders like this is not really my cup of tea. There's so much inconsistencies with these teams. There's so much parity in the league already, but then once you get to these bottom teams, it's hard to call, in my opinion, either way. But like I said, I would lean Dallas over Atlanta in this spot. For the total, I'll lean over on the account of the Wings' terrible defense and Atlanta's inconsistencies defensively. Both teams are struggling and turning the ball over a ton, which should lead to more transition points as both teams struggle defensively in transition. With the Dream just kind of middle of the pack in opponents' fast break points over their last 5, and the Dallas is just third from last. So I'll lean over here. But for a whole for this game, I'm not sure that I make it to the window on anything here. So make sure you check back into that pinned comment later on to see if I roll with anything on this one. And for our second game, we have the Chicago Sky taking on the Seattle Storm. The Storm are laying 9.5, and we have an over-under sitting at 161. The Sky come into Seattle with 1 day fewer rest than the Storm. They are 3-2 straight up in their last 5. They are 2-3 to the number in that time. They won their last game on Tuesday over the Dream, 85-77. They are now 7-11 straight up on the year, and they have performed better on the road than at home so far, going 500 at 4-4 straight up and against the spread while on the road. Now, the Storm have won 4 straight and 6 of their last 8, and they've covered in each of those victories. And when they win this year, they cover, having covered now in 12 of their 13 dubs. Seattle is 13-6 on the year straight up and to the number. The Storm are in the middle of a 9-game homestand, while the Sky are on the second of a 3rd-game road trip. There's no new injuries to report here either for either side. Mackenzie Holmes of Seattle and then Elizabeth Williams of Chicago are both out for the year. So over their last 5 games, the Sky have a 9th-ranked offense, but defensively have been ranked 5th. The Storm are top 3 in both of those categories over that same period of time. They are 3rd offensively and 2nd on defense. Now, we know the Sky love to play in the paint. They thrive off of Angel Reese and her offensive rebounding prowess, and they create a lot of second-chance scoring opportunities because of this. They are scoring 52% of their points from the paint, and that's tops in the W. And they are making the most field goals per game from the restricted area, but they are doing so at the lowest shooting percentage in the league. Now, Seattle is middle of the pack defending in this area, and they are giving up the 6th most field goals made at the 7th highest percentage, and they are allowing the 2nd most points per game from the paint. They are holding opponents to just 10 second chance points per game, however, and that's good for 4th in the W. The Sky are scoring 21% of their points off turnovers, that's 3rd. 16% off fast breaks, that's 1st, and they are 3rd in the league in forced turnovers, and the Storm are middle of the pack in terms of giving the ball up in opponents' points off turnovers. The Sky are allowing the most made field goals from the restricted area in the paint, and Seattle is shooting a league best 67% from there. The Storm are averaging the 3rd most points per game off turnovers, while the Sky are also middle of the pack in terms of losing the ball. Seattle is 3rd in rebounds, while the Sky are 1st in offensive rebounds. Seattle is middle of the pack in terms of giving up boards to the opposition, offensive boards specifically. The Storm are 1st in steals, they are 1st in blocks. They use both to generate those turnovers, as they don't really rely heavily on perimeter play, but rather their strong defense to create more scoring opportunities. The Storm have been dominant at home this year. They've won 8 straight now after dropping their home opener to start the season. When they have won on the year, they have won big, whether home or away. They're winning by an average of over 14 points per game. They have won by double digits now in 10 of their last 11 wins. While looking over the numbers, the Sky do match up decently against Seattle, honestly more so than I expected. But how do you fade Seattle at home right now? It feels pretty risky. The Sky are just 1-6 against teams with records above 500 as well. So with all things considered, I'll lay the points here with Seattle. And then for the total, the Storm are allowing only 77 points per game, while the Sky are giving up just under 81. The Storm have scored 83 or more, though, in 6 of their last 8, eclipsing the 90-point mark in 4 of those 6. The full game over looks risky with the inconsistencies on offense that we've seen from Chicago over the year. But the Storm team total over 85.5 is on my radar. That's probably what I like most in this game currently. All right, that's just about going to wrap us up here for another episode of Let 'Em Ride. Before we get out of here, though, let's recap what we went over in today's video, talk about which way that we are leaning. And right now, I'm looking at the Storm laying the 9.5, and I'm also looking at the Storm's team total over 85.5. And these are just leans currently. I have not put these plays in yet. But if I do, or if I find anything else before tip-off that I throw in, I will have it listed down below in the pinned comment. So make sure you check back in. That way you can see if you'd like to ride along with me. Or maybe you see those picks and think there's some duds and you want to do the contrary. Whatever you decide to do, please throw that down in the comments because I love to talk to you guys about it and I love to see what you cooked up as well. Guys, if you liked the video today, you found the content helpful or useful in any kind of way, please don't forget to smash that like button down there and hit subscribe if you have not already. That way you don't miss out on any of the content that we drop. And hit share if you can. It is definitely appreciated. That's going to wrap us up here. Make sure that you check in tomorrow morning for the video for the Aces and the Sparks. And that's going to do it, guys. I'll see you then.